Hello friends and welcome back to Enterprise Architecture. This time we are playing another spooky Halloween-inspired game, Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest. Now this is an older Nintendo game from the original NES days. It came out in 1988 as a sequel to the first Castlevania. That one was more of a traditional arcade side-scroller fighting monsters sort of game. This one, using the flexibilities allowed by the NES, is a little less linear. Now, although this game came out about 2 years after Metroid, I don't really consider it a Metroidvania. It's much more of a action fighter RPG, but is one of the earliest action RPGs, I would say, out there. But you're still just collecting keys to unlock each section, to get to the next mansion that you have to fight. You don't really get things like double jump or flight or any of those special powers that let you go to the next area like you do in Metroid. I feel like the first Metroidvania really in the Castlevania series is probably Symphony of the Night. So this one is not as linear as some of the traditional games at this point that had come out. I think it has much more in common with Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, that came out just the year before, and that you're going through fighting bosses and palaces to collect items that'll then take you to the final boss area that you have to get to. That being said, it's also a comparatively short game, but because it's a little less linear, you definitely would have spent a lot of time hunting and pecking to find all of the things in this game without some good hand-drawn maps. So, with no further ado, why don't we dive right in and we can talk more about the game as we play it. Okay, so we are here in the town of Jova, the first town in the game. Now, I do want to be upfront about the fact that I have spent a little time before we're starting this play session going through and grinding out to get some items and some levels. The main reason is the game starts you with just 50 hearts, and the first town you're going to need to buy these two items, the white crystal you see above and the holy water below. Those are two critical items that you're going to need to progress through the game. And then in the first town we get to, from here, we also need to buy the chain whip and the dagger, and then the oak stake inside of the first mansion that we get to. So, to save us a lot of time and trouble here of watching me play through, I decided instead to just fast forward through the 30 minutes I spent grinding out to get enough hearts to buy all those items. We're also going to buy the chain whip in the first town we get to as well. So take a look here. Again, this game I really love because of the vibe and the mood. You can kind of see these like trees they do in the background here that just make this really feel like a forest. These hedges, the textures on the rocks, again, they're doing a lot with very little here in this game, and it's really impressive. One thing I do want to mention here is that I am going to be using some mild cheatiness here for this game. You'll see me using the save states a lot, and the main reason I do that is, in addition to being bad at video games, what we just saw there. Unfortunately, this game has very, very poor control when it comes to jumping, and specifically jumping when you're around water and bottomless pits. It's really obnoxious. You can't control how you fall from the air, so if you jump, you can't press left or right. If you fall, you can't move yourself, or you can press left or right, it just isn't going to do anything. And that's extremely frustrating, and that makes an otherwise pretty fantastic game somewhat less great. I'm going to be super frank here. Also, as you may remember from our Hexen playthrough, saving frequently is just good game hygiene, so we do that a lot. So we're now going to be... Ooh, a horrible curse. One of the most famous memes in all of gaming. This is the other reason we're using some cheaty assists in this game, is that this game has a day-night cycle, and it's very, very slow. You can see we're now at like 6 days in game, and you know, time passes very slowly here. Horrible nights mean that you can't go into the towns and buy anything. All of the shops are locked and closed. And the next thing we need to do is go buy a bunch of stuff. So we use a fast-forward cheat here. And just like that, the night is over. Now, when you know, I was much younger, playing the real game, frequently what we would do is also just fast forward through the nights whenever possible. And now we're seeing the first use of that holy water, that item that I'm throwing. Oh, we want to buy the dagger. Yes, that's one of the 2 items we came to this town to get. That and the chain whip. The holy water breaks through these destroyable blocks. And again, that's going to be a part of the original game as well. You can use your whip to break through blocks. We're pretty good on life, but let's just go into the church and top up real quick. There we go. And all of these townspeople will tell you things about what's going on around. And it kind of tells you where you need to go a little bit, but not all of the people tell you, like, things that are true, and also, well, I'm not sure how much of that is them trying to mislead you because they're Dracula's followers, as the game book says, and how much of it is just not great translation. You know, there's some rough edges in this game. And that's the next item we needed, the chain whip. So the chain whip is actually the 3rd whip in the game, but I skipped over the second one entirely, the thorn whip. You start with the leather whip, and the chain whip is number 3. So the Morning Star is the 4th whip we're going to get here after a while, but there's really no need to spend 100 of our precious hearts to get the Thorn Whip when we're going to get the Chain Whip in literally the second village, so I always skip that. So we're going to go this way instead, and again, this is just a poison swamp. It's going to sap your life. All classic old Nintendo games, you always had those poison swamps, you know, which are a constant peril. Ooh, that was a pretty good toss. But you also have these ones right below me there. Anytime you see that blue water, that's like an infinite pool of water that will kill you immediately when you step into it. Now, we have reached the first stop on our whirlwind tour. This, of course, is the first mansion. This is Berkeley Mansion. Berkeley Mansion holds one of the 5 pieces of Dracula that we need to capture, the relics. Now, since I already bought the white crystal, you'll see here that the floating platforms are visible to me. Those would typically be invisible, and you have to do things like throwing holy water to time it to make sure that you actually can jump properly onto that platform, because you won't be able to see it, but the white crystal makes those visible. Otherwise, this level gets very difficult. Also note that frequently these pillars will also be fake, or excuse me, the floor will be fake, specifically often around the pillars. So we throw a lot of holy water to make sure that our platforms are indeed solid. And again, it's a good thing we upgraded to that chain whip. This just makes really short work of a lot of these enemies. And yeah, so I am using a map here as well, so that we're not just wandering aimlessly through this particular level. Although I am going to continue to fall off a whole lot. Such precise jumping needed. Such a pain. Such a pain. And every once in a while we do need to double check from my map that I am going the right way still. So yeah, these it's not especially difficult to traverse these levels. It's pretty hard to get lost in this game. For the most part. Did you see that? Right there? The slime passed right through those blocks, which is how that we know that these are fake. Whoop. Which is a good thing that I saved right there. So again, these are fake blocks that we can pass right through. Is that fake too? No, that's not fake. Okay. Alright, now, that person down there is not actually an enemy. That's a druid that will sell us an oak stake. Now, you have to buy these oak stakes, not for killing Dracula, as you would think, or the monsters in here. Instead, the oak stakes are used to break open the magical crystal whatevers that hold all of the parts of Dracula. So we have to buy one for each of the parts that we're trying to capture. And again, there's a part in each of these palaces, so we have to save up an additional 50 hearts to purchase them. Yes, unfortunately we do want to buy an oak stick. And again, you'll see me saving a whole lot before I try to jump over any of these platforms. Yeah, the oak stake, I've tried to use it as a weapon. I don't think it actually does anything as a weapon, unfortunately. Oh, right. I definitely went the wrong way. I need to be reading my map a little bit closer here, friends. Ugh. Slimes. Ugh. Always painful. I think this is one of the first games that used slimes like that, jumping around. I wonder if that inspired the ones in Quake, which also have a similar jumping pattern. Okay, so this is the first of those orbs I was talking about here. The game only has 3 bosses in it, so most of these orbs are not protected by a boss. So this one we can walk right in, but you can see all of the adventurers who came before me and their fate here next to me. So we throw the oak stake right at that crystal, and it opens and releases the piece of Dracula. So we have his rib. Now, the rib is a great item because it gives you the shield you can see here. And that will protect you from projectiles, like the ones that the gargoyles throw. Now all there is to do is to make our way back out of the castle. We just go back the way we came at this point. Now, all of the pieces of Dracula technically do something, but the something that they do might not actually be super useful for in-game play. This is the only one I think that's like a especially useful enough item that I always have it equipped, because you never know when you're going to come across an enemy that's throwing projectiles, and that can make the game significantly easier. At least for the fireballs, those bones that skeleton was throwing, they're not gonna help you on those. And again, we know that that's a not real platform. We can just fall straight through there. The eyeball is neat in that it shows you invisible blocks that can be broke, instead of you having to figure out which ones need to be broken, and throwing a lot of holy water around all the time. I think it also makes other invisible blocks visible. Oop. See, if I had been facing him, I wouldn't have had to take that, but I was dealing with the slime. Could have bounced that right back. And frequent saving, always good. And now we are right back here at the beginning. So again, we know that there's an invisible platform here. We can actually just fall on it, just like that. But again, knowing that it's there the rest of the time is a lot harder. You have to learn the timing or use the crystal. Okay, and now we are back outside of the mansion. So we go ahead and save our game. And from here, we need to go on towards the next town, which is Algeba. And from there, we're going to go to the third mansion, or the second mansion, excuse me. But first, we need the blue crystal, which can only be gotten in that next town. Somebody is going to trade us the crystal. So you have these different crystals, and basically you trade up from white, that you buy the first one, to blue, and then finally to red. Each of the crystals is basically a key to unlock a certain section. Oh, I did not want that. So we're not going to fast forward through this while there are enemies on the screen, because then we're going to have a bad time. Yeah, like these eyeballs here, we don't want to deal with you. So we're just going to make it as quickly as we can through this section. Now, one thing I will note is that you only get experience points from hearts that you're picking up. Unlike a lot of other games, just killing enemies doesn't give you currency automatically. The heart drops are random. And also, experience is attached to those hearts. This can be really frustrating. It means that even though this is an RPG, grinding out levels can take forever. And now we have one of the first secret weapons. The Sacred Flame. This is a neat little weapon. It has a throwing arc that's very similar to the Holy Water, but it makes that pillar of flame appear instead and burns for a second, which can be really useful. Oh, I'm taking some hits. Oof. And those bats are just kind of hard to see against this background. A lot of the enemies are outlined in black, and primarily the colors on them are black, which can be very problematic to see them when you're fighting in a dark room. Now we're going to save again, just because I'm feeling less confident about where we are, and I don't know if the next village has a church or not. Oh, yeah, that bug. One thing I really dislike about this game is that when you go onto a screen, the game actually is already loading. And that means that in many cases you can hit an enemy before you can see an enemy. And they can hit you, more importantly. Okay, so we're just going to make our way carefully here. As carefully as we can, saving a lot, just because we're running relatively low on life. And that is not a good position to be in at this particular juncture. Okay, here we are in the next town. This is Algeba. So we're going to go ahead and fast forward. There we go. Save, because what we need to do here... I'm trying to remember. I think we need to buy the laurels, the garlic, and also we need to trade our crystal in. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Make sure we have the right items equipped. There we go. Just like this. Make our way down to the basement. Yeah, we'll buy some garlic. Garlic is a good thing to have. Garlic is useful in that enemies can walk into it and they'll get damaged over and over again as long as they are touching it. Again, if you watch the Hexen playthrough, it works kind of like our cleric's magic fog that he can create. But we also are going to use it here in a second to get our first free secret item. If I remember correctly, it's the silver knife that we see in this next little area. But first things first, buy some laurels. Yes. Laurels give you invincibility. So basically, you're able to turn them on and for a very short period of time not take any damage. We mainly use that to get through some of the poison swamps that'll be coming up. We don't need that immediately, but we will need it in the near future. And then the last thing we need to do in this town is to walk over here and get the blue crystal for the white crystal. And it's this gentleman who has it. And there we go. Now we just make our way out of town. Now this game does have a whole lot of backtracking here. But what we do want to do first is in this area, we use the garlic we just bought. Okay, so we dropped one, if I remember correctly, right here? Yeah, there we go. And there we go, we have the silver knife. Now again, this is a item that uses hearts. But it goes through our enemies all the way to the end of the screen. So that's a nice little extra to have. Okay, and that's all we need to do in this section. Now that path we were just walking through, that would lead to a dead end from this side. You can get back through on the other side, but not from this side. So now we need to backtrack here. Oops. And again, there was no priest or church in that town, so we're kind of on our own as far as life. We have to be very, very, very careful here as we make our way through. I suspect I will probably die before we get to the next section. Or to the next church, let's say. How close are we? Yeah, we're a ways away from level up as well. Can we make it to that heart in time? Oh, nope, we cannot. It's also frustrating that the hearts disappear very, very quickly. And again, just the atmosphere here. I'll also note the music we're listening to right now in the game. This is probably one of the most famous tracks in Castlevania, called Bloody Tears. It's reused and remixed a lot, but I think it appears in some version in just about every game. And again, this was the first game, I think, that had it. Oh, yeah, just hearts disappearing way too quickly for me. Okay, so now we need to take the bottom routes. And again, we're going to use a lot of cheats here because jumping puzzles are not fun. There we go. Alright, now, here's one of the first secrets in the game. Man, this took me so long to figure out when I was a kid. You basically just kneel holding the blue crystal, and eventually this underwater area appears. And this takes us to the next mansion that we are going to encounter. And here we are at the second mansion. This is Rover Mansion. So in here, we're going to have to go through and fight a few little monsters to get to the next piece of Dracula. So we're going to work our way through here to the gypsy again, who sells us the oak stake that we need here. And yeah, we have to jump through some of these platforms. Again, things that if we had the eyeball, it would be clear to us. But they do make it a little tricky on you here. Okay, so we need to make our way over to the gypsy, and that does mean that we're going to have some jumping puzzles. And this is definitely not one of my favorite ones in the game. There we go. The fact that we do have so many versatile weapons, I do like in this game. I think it's a nice addition to have so many options. I wish they weren't so, you know, samey in a lot of cases. Ooh, gotta outrun the platform. There we go. You know, you've got 3 different types of dagger. I think, you know, you could have just made it so that the dagger gets upgraded or something. I don't know. But again, it's not my game design. I still think it's a wonderful game. And it does make it nice to have to, like, find all of these secret items. And again, unless you kind of know where to look, they can be pretty much hidden in plain sight, and you'll kind of miss out on a lot of them. Okay, let's see here. Come on. There we go. And now back up. More... a pair of jumping puzzles, so we're going to save here. Yeah. Perfect. And note that they've got the water at the top here, because we're under that lake, right? We knelt with the blue crystal, and now we're literally underneath a lake. So I just think that's a nice little touch there, where they put the water above the castle to kind of show that you're underneath it. And again, another one of these little treasure rooms. We go back with our oak stake, and perfect. And now we have Dracula's heart. Dracula's heart is not an especially useful item. The only thing we use it for is we show it to the ferryman, and he takes us to the 3rd mansion. If I can ever make this jump. Yeah, the timing on the jumps just feels, I don't know, like a half second off. It feels like you kind of have to wait till the last possible moment to be able to get through. There we go. Just gotta get that timing just right so that we don't end up dying here in this level. That's not what we want. Oof. That was very close. Very close. And we're just making our way back the way that we came. Again, not a lot of sophistication here. I really kind of wish it would just teleport you back out of the mansion, but no such luck. And you know what? We actually have 80 hearts already, which is enough to buy a 2nd oak stake for this level. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. And the reason we're going to do that is to save us the trip in the next mansion. We can actually take it with us out of the mansion. Again, compared to, say, like, the keys in Zelda 2, which you can only use in the same mansion you find them in. Is that right? I think that's right. Okay, now again, see, we can walk right through these invisible blocks, or visible blocks that are not solid. The opposite of an invisible block, I guess? Okay, we'll just run from you. Alright, and that is the end of Rover Mansion. And I think that brings us to the end of this episode as well. As you can see, we've reached a dead end on our path here, so we're going to have to backtrack significantly. But we'll do that next time in our next episode here. So, thanks again for joining us here on Enterprise Architecture, and we'll see you back here next time. Bye, friends!